Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Blackwings. Blackwings are a TCG deck that has, gotten a few tops recently. There are a few players in Blackwings that can do some good plays. A lot of current Blackwing strategy focuses around the Triple D Kali Yuga that prevents your opponent from activating monster effects for rest turn. It's a cool idea, but the combo is long and specific and very easy to disrupt, and you have so many pieces, and if you don't get every piece off right, then you end up losing. So I'd rather focus on a deck that's like more flexible. So let's take a look at a synchro list that really focuses on building a board and trying to stop your opponent from playing the game. For the hand traps, we are playing 3 copies of Mulcharmy Fualos. If you control no cards, you can discard this card, and each time your opponent special summons a monster from the deck or the extra deck, immediately you draw a card, and then you put back your cards from your hand into the deck until you have the number of cards your opponent controls plus 6 in your hand. So this card is not nearly as good in this deck as it is in some of the other decks because we're only playing a few other hand traps. We have 1 copy of Droll, we have 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and we have 3 copies of Imperm. But like Imperm and Effect Veiler can be really, really good at interrupting the opponent. The main reason we are not playing Nibiru in this deck is because Nibiru puts a card on our side of the field, which means we can't activate the effect of Simoon the Poison Wind. And that card is so important for our deck that we really don't want to play Nibiru. So yeah. Fuelos can still get us some much needed disruption, and then we can potentially draw into some important cards. You definitely want to have extra cards in your hand at the beginning of your turn so that your Simoon does not hurt you as much. So this is just a solid option. It's also Wing Beast. Then we are playing Droll, which of course, if a card is added from the main deck to the opponent's hand, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and for the rest of the turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. Just a good card to mess with the opponent, stop them from adding so much resources. It's questionable about whether Droll or Ash is better, especially when you're playing so few hand traps. But I think that having multiple wins in the deck makes it a little bit easier to use Small Worlds, so I prefer having 2 win hand traps in the deck as opposed to a win and a fire. Effect Veiler, during your opponent's main phase, you can pitch this card, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Same with Imperm, except the Imperm is anytime. Yeah, just good cards, making sure that your opponent can't play card effects. And then we're playing 1 copy of Called by the Grave, which banishes a monster in the opponent's graveyard. And then until the end of the turn, effects with the same name can't be activated and are negated. So good. Alright, that is it for the hand traps. Now, for the main deck, we are playing 1 copy of Blackwing Zonda the Dusk. Blackwing Zonda the Dusk is a level 6 with 2300 attack and 900 defense, Darkwing Beast. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters. You can only use one of the following effects of Blackwing Zonda the Dusk per turn, and only once that turn. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 monster on the field and return it to the hand. It's an interesting idea. It is pretty easy to get additional normal summons in this deck with your No Throwing the Starlight, but typically you're not going to do that, and you would rather use its second effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 level 5 or higher Blackwing monster from your deck, from your hand or deck, and then take damage equal to its attack points. Yeah, so Zonda the Dusk can be pretty useful for getting out additional copies of your Simoon the Poison Wind. And why do we want to do that? Well, you'll see in the replay. Simoon the Poison Wind. This is a very important card for the deck. Level 6 Darkwing Beast with 1600 attack and 2000 defense. If you control no monsters and you have this card in your hand, you can banish 1 other Blackwing monster from your hand, place 1 Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone, then either send this card to the graveyard or immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon it without tributing. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except dark monsters. You can only use this effect of Simoon the Poison Wind once per turn, and during the end phase, send the Black Whirlwind placed by this effect to the graveyard. If you do, take 1000 points of damage. So, Simoon is so important to this deck that we are playing 3 copies of Small World to make sure that we open it, and we are also playing absolutely 0 monsters in our extra deck that are not dark monsters. We are dark locked. We assume that we are dark locked. So we will not play anything that is not a dark monster. And it's absolutely important. Blackwing Boar of the Spear. If you control a Blackwing other than Blackwing Boar of the Spear, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So the main reason why Blackwing Boar of the Spear is good is because its ability to special summon itself from the hand is not once per turn. So you can continuously recycle this card from your graveyard and special summon it. It's not as important in this version of the deck that doesn't use Link monsters or rank 4 Xyz monsters as in the Kali-Yuga version, but it's still pretty useful to have a level 4 that you can combine with your Borea Storm or some of your other tuner monsters. Level 4, Blackwing Shamal the Sandstorm. This is a dark winged beast tuner monster. You can send this card from your hand or your field to the graveyard to place 1 Black Feather Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. So this is very similar to Simoon, except that it plays the new Black Feather Whirlwind and doesn't summon itself. If a Blackwing Synchro Monster or Blackwing Dragon is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Blackwing Monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and then take 700 points of damage. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, Shamal is a very good card, and one of the problems is that you need this card in your opening hand really badly. Now, you can draw it off of Sudri, but he would rather draw Vada off of Sudri, to be honest. So there are a lot of like really important combo pieces. Like Blackwings are really good at searching. Don't get me wrong; they're very good at like adding additional cards to their hand. But they need so many cards to start their turn. It's actually kind of annoying. That's why we're playing so few hand traps. And I have this problem with Speedroids as well. So it just hurts. This is a very good card. And it's the main way that you can get multiple normal summons of Sudri the Phantom Glimmer, which is important for the deck. Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. Level 4, 1600 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control the hand, special summon this card, and if you do, take 400 damage. You can only use this effect once per duel. This is a really, really good card. Being able to recycle from the graveyard automatically, and also recycle one of your spells automatically. There's a lot of synergy with Zephyros intentionally put into the deck because they realize how good Zephyros is as a card. So, yeah, Zephyros has only gotten better over time, and it's just a fantastic card. You only play it at 1 because you can mill it, but you do mill it, and you do use it a lot. All right, next up is Blackwing Sudri the Phantom Glimmer. This is a dark 1400 attack, 1400 defense, level 4. When this card is normal summon, you can add 1 card that mentions Blackwinged Dragon from your deck to your hand, except Sudri the Phantom Glimmer. You can contribute 1 monster to special summon a Phantom Glimmer token, which is a level 2 tuner monster. Then you take 700 damage. You cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, except for synchro summons. You can only use this effect once per turn. Getting a tuner monster is pretty useful. You can, like, normal summon Droll and use this effect if you're in a bad bind, but for the most part, you might tribute Sudri itself to summon this token, and then you could potentially use your Hamrat in the Dust to get the token's level. You might use Assault Synchron. You know, there are a few ways that you can utilize this free token to get some extra advantage, but you don't always use that effect. The first effect is really good though. Blackwing Hamrat in the Dust. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Hamrat in the Dust, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Hamrat in the Dust once per turn this way. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target when this card is normal or special summon, so it does miss timing. You can target 1 other Blackwing monster you control, increase this card's level by that monster's level. So if you have a level 2 tuner and you special summon Hamrat in the Dust, you can target the level 2 tuner and make this card level 4 so that you can make a level 6. If you have a level 3 tuner, you can target this card and make it a level 5 so you can make a level 8. Different ways that you can use this card, and you got to be very careful about how you activate it. Blackwing Vada the Emblem of Wandering. This is a level 2 dark tuner monster. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Vada the Emblem of Wandering, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Blackwing Vada the Emblem of Wandering once per turn this way. During your main phase, you can send this card on the field or in the graveyard. Send this card on the field into the graveyard, along with one or more non-tuner Blackwing monsters from your deck, so the total exactly equals 8. And if you do special summon one Blackwing dragon from your extra deck, also you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except dark monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. It's a really good card. So you can pitch your Zonda to the graveyard, and then you can immediately use its effect to bring out your Simoon, so just a really, really solid option. And then it's a level 2 tuner that you can revive with your Black Feather Whirlwind, so you do some really crazy things with this card. Just 3 of easy. Alright, Assault Synchron. During your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand, then take 700 damage. Also, while this card is face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except Synchro monsters. If a face-up dragon synchro monster you control is tributed or banished, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one of those monsters, and special summon it. You can only use each effect of Assault Synchron once per turn. It's pretty cool. Pretty useful effect. Obviously, you can use this card with, if you make your Blackwinged Assault Dragon, by using the effect of like its other synchro to like you banish a tuner or a Blackwing Dragon from your graveyard, from your field. If you do that, then you can immediately use Assault Synchron to bring the Blackwing Dragon back, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's a question of how much value you can get out of it. Now, obviously, if you synchro summon the Blackwing Dragon and then banish it from the graveyard, that's basically the same thing, because either way, you were using a level 8 on the field, and then you were also using level 8 to make the extra Blackwing Assault Dragon. But this just gives you more flexibility with when you do that. Good card. Free level 2s, really good. Speaking of free level 2s, Blackwing Sharnga the Waning Moon. If a monster with 2,000 or more attack is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can also special summon Sharnga once per turn this way. If you control a Blackwing Synchro Monster as a quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one face-up card your opponent controls, and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per duel. Now, it's important to note that it's a Blackwing monster, not a Black-Winged monster. So it does not count if you have Black-Winged Dragon or Black-Winged Assault Dragon. You have to have a Blackwing monster, like, for example, Blackwing Full Armor Master. So, keep that in mind. This card does not mention Blackwing Dragon, which means that you can't search it off of Sudri. The only way that you can really search this card is with Black Whirlwinds specifically. It's really good. It's not as good as Vada, though. Even though you can search Vada and you can't search this card, it's so much more important to have Vada, because Vada gives you so much more extension that you still want to run 3 of this card and not necessarily 3 of this card. But it's close. Blackwing Chinook the Snowblast. This is a level 2 non-tuner. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Send one Blackwing Synchro Monster or one Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck to the graveyard. And if you do, until the end of this turn, the targeted monster loses 700 attack points. Also negate its effects. This is a quick effect if you control a Dark Synchro Monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. Cool. Solid card. Easy to search. Pitch one of your Blackwings, probably your Silverwind the Ascendant, and just burn your opponent's, your opponent loses 700 attack points, negate its effects, and that is just a really good option. Okay, Black Whirlwind. When a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your field, you can add one Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster. That effect is not once per turn, it is not once per chain, and it misses timing. So, you will activate Black Whirlwind first, then you will activate your Simoon effect second. You'll get 2 Black Whirlwinds, and then you just get multiple draws off of every normal summon. So, Simoon the Poison Wind gives you a free normal summon. Nothling the Starlight gives you a free normal summon, and then you have your normal summon for turn. So if you have 2 Black Whirlwinds out, you can potentially draw 6 cards. Insane. Good effect. Okay, Small World. You guys know what Small World does. Do I have to explain this card? Okay. Reveal one monster in your hand, choose one monster from your deck that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, and defense, and banish the revealed monster from your hand face down, then add from your deck to your hand one monster that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense as the monster chosen from the deck, and banish the card from the deck face down. You can only activate 1 Small World per turn. Okay, so here is what you do. You activate Small World. Then you can banish any Blackwing from your hand. Any of them. Or you can banish Droll. Then you banish Mulcharmy Fuelos from your deck, because it's a winged beast. It's not dark. It doesn't have the same attack, it doesn't have the same level, it doesn't have the same defense. You just banish the Mulcharmy Fuelos from your deck, then you draw Simoon. So, any Blackwing or Droll, Mulcharmy Fuelos, Simoon. There you go. Now, the problem is, of course, that if you banish a Blackwing from your hand to activate Small World, which is another card in your hand, you get your Simoon. Now you only have 3 cards left in your hand, and one of them has to be another Blackwing for you to even use Simoon's effect. But that's how desperate we are to play Simoon. I'm sorry. Okay. Black Feather Whirlwind. Once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extra deck, you can target one of your Blackwing monsters or Blackwing Dragon that is banished from your graveyard with less attack than the special summon monster, and special summon it. Once per turn, if a dark monster you control will be destroyed with a battle or card effect, you can remove one Black Feather counter from your field instead. Both of these are soft once per turn. Now, it's important to note, okay, so you get a free special summon from your graveyard, which is crazy good. Very, very good effect. Since it is a soft once per turn, that means that after you have used this effect, you can activate Zephyros the Elite's effect, and target the card, return it to your hand, bring back your Zephyros the Elite, then activate the Black Feather Whirlwind again and get another special summon from your graveyard. Very, very strong effect. Love it. And then lastly, we have Blackwing Twin Shadow. Shuffle 2 of your Blackwing monsters, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner, that are banished in or in your graveyard into the deck or the extra deck, and special summon 1 Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck whose levels equal the total levels of those 2 monsters. This is treated as a Synchro summon. If you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. You can only activate 1 Blackwing Twin Shadow per turn. Great. Solid card. You can use this card, return some cards from your graveyard to the extra deck, and potentially special summon your... you can summon Silverwind the Ascendant and destroy 2 cards on the field, or you can summon the Full Armor Master and just not die. It's just a good card. Okay, let's talk about the extra deck. Level 6 Blackwing No Thung the Starlight. 2400 attack, 1600 defense. If this card is special summoned, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Then one face-up monster your opponent controls loses 800 attack and defense points. That is mandatory. You can only use this effect once per turn. During your normal phase, you can normal summon 1 Blackwing monster in addition to your normal summoner set, and you can only gain this effect once per turn. Now, the the additional normal summon of No Thung the Starlight is not tied to the burn effect. I understand that when you special summon No Thung the Starlight, it will have a little effect that pops up. Your opponent gets burned for 800 damage. You still have to keep No Thung on the board to get your extra normal summon. So make sure that you use your extra normal summon before you synchro off your No Thung the Starlight. Very important. Good card. Blackwing Boreas Storm the Wicked Wind. Level 6 tuner monster, 2400 attack, 1200 defense. If this card is synchro summoned, you can send 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes that same as that monster's level. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can banish a Blackwing monster from your graveyard or face up on your field, except the destroyed monster. Special summon the destroyed monster to your field in defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. So you're pretty much never going to use the second effect, but the first effect is really good. So this is a tuner monster, of course, and you will typically use this to pitch your Zephyros the Elite, so that you can put Zephyros the Elite in the graveyard, and then Boreas Storm becomes level 4, and then you can synchro your Boreas Storm with your No Thung to make your first Blackwing Assault Dragon. Good card. Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant. This is a level 8. It has 2800 attack, 2000 defense. It requires 1 Blackwing tuner monster plus 2 or more non-tuners. That is absurdly difficult requirements, so you're never going to make this normally. But you can make it with your Twin Shadow. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target up to 2 face-up monsters on the field with defense lower than this card's attack and destroy those targets. You cannot conduct your battle phase during the turn you activate this effect. During each of your opponent's turns, the first Blackwing monster that you control that will be destroyed by battle is not destroyed. Pretty good effect. So, you activate your Twin Shadow, you take a level 2 and a level 6, shuffle them back into the deck, or a level 4 and a level 4, shuffle them back into the deck, summon your Silverwind the Ascendant, target 2 monsters your opponent controls that have 2800 or less defense, and destroy them. Very, very good disruption. Obviously, you can't target link monsters, so be careful about that. This is Yeah, this is good. Okay. Alright, Blackwinged Dragon. If you would take damage from a card effect, place a Black Feather counter on this card instead. This card loses 700 attack for each Black Feather counter on it. Once per turn, you can remove all Black Feather counters from this card. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls. That target loses 700 attack for each Blackwing counter removed, and if it does, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack lost by the effect. So it's a cool idea. The primary reason that you care about this is because you take a lot of damage with your effects. You take 1,000 damage from Simoon, you take 400 damage from Zephyros the Elite, you take 700 damage from Assault Synchron, you take the damage, 600 damage from using your Zonda, and you take 700 from Shamal. Yes. So it's a lot of burn damage. So you can literally just leave your Blackwing Dragon from the start of your turn to the end of your turn because you made it with your Vada, and just prevent all the damage that you take. Pretty good. And then you banish it from your graveyard. To summon this guy, Blackwinged Assault Dragon. This is a level 10, 3,200 attack, 2,800 defense. So you probably have been thinking this entire time, okay, when do these cards get good? Fair. That's a fair question, chat. Let me explain this to you. Okay, so all of this other crap is build up. But this card is where we can actually play the game. So, Blackwinged Assault Dragon has 3,200 attack and 2,800 defense. It's level 10. Requires a tuner synchro monster plus one or more non-tuner monsters. Must either be synchro summoned, or you can special summon it from your extra deck by banishing a tuner synchro monster and a Blackwinged Dragon from your face-up field and or graveyard. It's important to note, if you use the second effect, if you banish a tuner synchro monster and a Blackwinged Dragon from your field or graveyard, you don't care about their levels, which is very important because Boreas Storm is level 6 and Blackwinged Dragon is level 8. So that would be a level 14. You don't have to care about that. So you synchro summon one time, and then you banish to special summon one time. And then you have 2. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, on resolution, place a Black Feather counter on Blackwinged Assault Dragon. And if you do, inflict 700 damage to your opponent's life points. So it is not a it's not a tax dragon. Tax dragons are your opponent has to pay a certain amount of life points to activate an effect. And then if they can't pay the life points, they can't use the effect. Blackwing, and because of that, the card can't kill them. Assault Dragon cannot prevent your opponent from activating an effect if their life points are too low, which means that your opponent could potentially try and destroy your Assault Dragon before they die because the burn damage happens on resolution. But it also means that they can kill themselves. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, you can also protect your Blackwing Assault Dragon. So they can try and get into a position where they could destroy your Blackwing Assault Dragon with a monster effect. But you remember you have the Black Whirlwind. And the Black Whirlwind has a soft once per turn. If a dark monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove one Black Feather counter from your field instead. That's per Feather Whirlwind. So if you have 2 Feather Whirlwinds out at the same time, you get 2 protection effects. Pretty good. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you contribute this card with 4 or more Black Feather counters on it to destroy all cards on the field. So it's a Blackwing Dragon during the opponent's turn. Or, sorry, Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon during the opponent's turn. Now, obviously, destroying all your own cards, kind of inconvenient, but that's why we have Full Armor Master. So this is a great card. I love this card. Definitely a card that you would want to make at 3 if possible. I haven't been too successful with that, to be honest. There have been some games where I've been able to make 3, but for the most part, especially in the TCG, you want to be realistic, and 2 is completely fine. So your opponent takes 1,400 damage every time that they use a monster effect. 1,400, 2,800, 4,200, 5,600, 7,000. That's quick. That's pretty quick. How many times? And remember, it's per monster effect, not per summon like Nibiru. So it might look like I'm counting the Nibiru. Imagine all the card effects, all the monsters that see play that have more than one effect, right? Like, what if a monster, like, for example, a monster like Tenyi, right? Where it special summons itself from the hand as an effect, and that's an effect. So they take 1,400 damage. Then it has an effect when it's summoned. So they activate that effect again, they take another 1,400 damage. And now they're actually resolving the effect that they care about, but they're 2,800 damage in the hole. So that's, that's where things are. And you have 2 counters, so you can potentially, you're that much quicker to destroying the board if you need to. So, yeah, this game's pretty good. Bestial Dispotter. This is a dark synchro monster, level 10, 3,500 attack and defense. Requires a tuner plus a non-tuner dragon monster. That's very important. You can only make this card using Blackwing Dragon as your non-tuner. You can target one banished light or dark monster and special summon it to your field. So either player's banish light or dark monsters and special summon it. And there are a few cards that you can banish with your deck, so you will definitely do this very frequently. When your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can target one banished card and shuffle it into the deck. Then if you shuffle it into your deck, destroy the monster. If you shuffle it into your opponent's deck, negate the activated effect. You can only use each effect or Dispotter once per turn. So you won't typically be able to negate with this card unless your opponent is playing a banished deck or you have Called by the Grave, but it doesn't really matter. Even if you can't negate a monster effect, if you can destroy the monster that's activating the effect while you have Blackwing Dragon out and you're burning your opponent, all you're doing is drawing the turn out. You just want to make sure that your opponent can't do anything. You might not even care about the monster that's activating the effect, but as long as they can't be used as material, the opponent is most likely going to have to use more effects to get more materials on the board, and that means they're closer and closer to letting you blow up the field, and also closer and closer to dying. So Dispotter, being able to pop a monster that activates an effect, might not win you the game by itself, but it will definitely drag the game out long enough for the Blackwing Assault Dragon to win the game for you. Really good card. Chaos Angel, level 10, one tuner plus one or more non-tuner light or dark monsters. For this card's synchro summon, you can treat one light or dark monster you control as a tuner monster. So that's really, really good. You potentially make this with Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer, and either Simoon or Nothung or Zonda. So Sudri, the biggest problem with Sudri by far is that it's not a tuner monster. You will often use it as a non-tuner monster, but it's so integral to your strategy, along with Zephyros the Elite. These two cards are so integral to your strategy, they're always on the board, and sometimes you just wish, oh my god, I wish there was a way to make this a tuner monster. Well, with Chaos Angel, you can. So it's really good to have this card in your extra deck, just because if you're looking at your end board and you're realizing, oh, I have this level 4 that I couldn't do anything with it. Well, banish your Zonda from the graveyard, get a level 6 on your board, and then you can do something with it. It's great. It's good. It's a good option. Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, this is a panic button. Panic button. One tuner plus one or more non-tuners. This card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it's on the field or in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card's attack other than this card, and inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So if your opponent barely managed to get out of their turn by your Blackwing Dragons burning them, and they're low, but they managed to clear your board, Scarlet could finish them off. Scarlet's also pretty good if you're going seconds, because you could just make it really quickly and try and destroy as many cards on the board as your opponent controls, and then potentially continue your turn. And sometimes you just don't really have a good level 10 that you can make, or you don't have the numbers to make a level 10, so it's good to have a level 8 that you can use. I like it. Arms of Gen X Return 0. Dark level 10, 3100 attack, 2950 defense. One dark tuner plus one or more non-tuners. When your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can banish one monster from your graveyard with the same attribute, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. You can only banish each attribute once per turn to activate the effects of Arms of Gen X Return 0. And once per turn, you can target up to 6 of your Gen X monsters with different attributes that are banished in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then you can destroy that many cards that are spells and traps. So this is just, you can negate a dark effect, and then if you have full Humlos, you can negate a wind effect, and if you have effect failure, you can negate a light effect. So dark is obviously one of the most important attributes. Light is also very common. Getting 2 negates is pretty good. Dragon Berserker the Tangy, level 8, 3000 attack. When your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can banish that monster. If this attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, Dragon Berserker gains its attack points, then you can attack again, but only on another monster. It's a decent card, not the most amazing card in the world, but level 8 is level 8. And we're dark locked. My boy! Blackwing Full Armor Master requires a Blackwing tuner plus one or more non-tuners, 3000 attack, 3000 defense. Unaffected by other cards' effects. Each time a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, place a wedge counter on that monster, maximum 1. After this effect resolves. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter and take control of it forever. Once per turn during your end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that have a wedge counter. Great. Solid card. Can't be destroyed. by card effects, can't be bounced, can't be removed. Like, it's really good to make with your Blackwing Assault Dragon because you can just blow the board and you still have this card on the field. It's got 3,000 attack, it's got 3,000 defense. It's pretty hard to kill. Your opponent can just destroy it in battle, but they have to get there first. So Full Armor Master is just a wall. It's a good card. Lastly, we have Wallow, Founder of the Drudge Dragons. This is a rank 6 Xyz monster. It's a zombie monster that requires 2 or more level 6s, 2,400 attack, 1,300 defense. Monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each card in your opponent's graveyard. All monsters. Pretty good. As a quick effect, you can target one card in your opponent's graveyard, detach 1 or 2 materials from this card, then activate the appropriate effect. If you detach 1 material, you can return the targeted card to the deck. If you attach 2 materials, if the target is a monster, special summon it face up or face down in defense position on your field. If it is not a monster, set it to your field. You can only use this effect of Wallow once per turn. So you can either essentially DD Crow, or you can take one of your opponent's monsters or one of their spells and traps and play it to your side of the field. Really cool effect. Really interesting interaction. I love it. And you can make this, the primary way that you make this is you have No Thing out, and then you banish Zonda from your graveyard, special summon Simoon, and you Xyz them. Pretty good. Alright, let's take a look at the replay. Alright, so we are going first against Magispectors. Start things off by activating Black Whirlwind. The opponent is going to activate Mulcharmy Fualos, and we will call by the Graveyard. Simoon effect, we banish Sudri to play another Black Whirlwind, and then we normal summon Simoon. We activate Black Whirlwind's effect as a Chain Link 1 and a Chain Link 2. Opponent's going to Ash Blossom one of them. That's okay. So we only get 1 search right now. We're going to grab Sudri. Normal summon Sudri. Sudri effect is a Chain Link 1. Whirlwind effect is a Chain Link 2. Whirlwind effect is a Chain Link 3. So we grab Harmont in the Dust, Vada, and Shamal. Now we activate Shamal's effect. We discard it to play the Black Feather Whirlwind from the deck, special summon the Vada. Vada effect, pitch the Zonda, and we can synchro summon Blackwing Dragon. Then we activate, we're going to activate Shamal's effect is a Chain Link 1, and Black Feather Whirlwind's effect is a Chain Link 2. Now, this was incorrect. I should not have done this. So, typically, what you want to do with Shamal, is after you've sent Sudri to the graveyard for a Synchro Summon, you want to banish your Shamal to target the Sudri in your graveyard, return it to your hand, so that you can use No Thung the Starlight to get an additional normal summon for Sudri and get some more searching off. Because the Sudri effect to add a card when it's normal summoned is not once per turn. I made a mistake, though, and so instead, I activated this effect immediately, and my only option, because I can't target the Sudri that's banished. I can only target the either the Vada or the Zonda, and because the Black Feather Whirlwind needs to special summon the Vada, I have to pick Zonda. But we make it work anyway. So we Synchro Summon into No Thung the Starlight, and we burn our opponent for 800. Alright, now we're going to Tribute Summon with the extra normal summon. Tribute Summon Zonda. That means that we get 2 additional uses of Black Whirlwind. So we're going to grab Sharanga the Waning Moon, and Chinook the Snow Blast. Special Summon Sharanga. Special summon the Harmont the Dust, target the Sharanga, raise its level to 4, and synchro these 2 into the Boreas Storm. Boreas Storm, the Wicked Winds effect, pitch the Zephyros. Zephyros effect, bounce the Black Feather Whirlwind, special summon it. Activate Black Feather Whirlwind again. We're not taking any damage because of the Blackwing Dragon we have on the board. Synchro 10 into Blackwing Assault Dragon. We'll revive our Vada, and then we'll use Vada along with the Blackwing Dragon to Synchro Summon into Despoter. Banish 2, special summon another Blackwing Assault Dragon. activate the Despoteur's effect, bring back the Boreas Storm, which is a level 6 tuner, synchro with the Zephyros the Elite, into the full Armor Master. Then we'll activate Zonda's effect, banish it from the graveyard, special summon the Simoon, and Xyz into the Wallow. Okay, let's take a look at our board. So every time my opponent resolves a monster effect, they take 1400 damage. We have a monster that can't be that is unaffected by all their cards' effects, and then can also take control of one of the opponent's monsters if it survives until next turn. We can destroy a monster that activates a card effect, or we can negate it if the opponent has a monster that's banished, which they do. We can also special summon a monster from their graveyard or return it to the deck. We have an Effect Veiler to negate a targeted monster effect. We have a Chinook to also negate another effect. And in the graveyard, we also have Sharnga the Waning Moon so that we can banish a card to target a face-up card the opponent controls and destroy it. All these are options. Cool. Now we're going to pass turn. Also, our opponent has already taken 800 damage. We have to pitch the Black Whirlwind due to Simoon. We take 1,000. The opponent normal summons Droll and Lockbird because they're playing Magispectors. Activate Wind, distribute it, special summon the Bunbuku. Now, Magispectors can't be targeted. So I can't Effect Veiler this, I can't Chinook this, and I can't Sharnga the Warning Point this. That does interrupt a lot of my interaction. But I also have the Despoteur, and Despoteur can negate an activated effect without targeting the monster. So he uses Bunbuku to try and search. We negate. Opponent takes 700 damage, 1400 damage. And they will Xyz into Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. Now we can activate the Sharnga from the graveyard, banish it to pop the monster before it can use its effect. And the opponent has nothing left. There you go. So that is how Blackwings work. That is how you can set up a board that will burn the opponent, set up a lot of negates and interruption, and have a lot of resources. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.